No person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from the participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. I started wrestling, so I was at a basketball camp at my high school, and I was continually throwing girls to the ground. They would hold the ball in front of me and I would just take it. And the wrestling coach there was there setting up for his camp that was coming up. And he invited me to come to the camp and try it out. And I found that my basketball career was going nowhere. And so I preferred wrestling and I enjoyed it more and I felt more myself in the mat room rather than with a basketball. I had never seen women's wrestling before. I had no idea what to expect. I had only watched like WWE with my brother, which it is nothing like wrestling at all. My freshman year, we had a pretty stacked girls team, and throughout high school we did. My head coach was a female. She was both boys and girls head coach. So she kind of really focused on both boys and girls instead of limiting just to boys like a lot of coaches do. By my senior year, we had multiple girls. We had multiple girls in every weight class. And we won region as both boys and girls in districts. Our team really grew and we were really successful in both boys and girls, which I felt was really important to not just limit ourselves to just being good in the boys. She focused on us being good in the girls. And so it really made me feel like I could do anything because she believed in me and the team. And so having other girls to rely on my team that were also wanting the same thing, it made me feel very like I was able to succeed. I look up to my high school coach because she coached both boys and girls, and she was around men all the time who were like, oh, I'm head coach, I coach the boys and girls. But they would focus on the boys. And a lot of the time you'd see girls in girls' corners and not their coach. My coach, she spread out her time into where she could go to boys and girls equally, and she valued all of us as people rather than as a boy or a girl. Well, so we had a news program at my school as an academy. So you hear about it, it just glance over wrestling every so often. Because, I mean, we were the most successful team on campus. We sent multiple kids to state every year, but we hear about football. They made it to playoff round 1. Or basketball, they made it to playoff round 1. Well, we had all wrestlers make it to regionals this year. But we didn't hear anything. We glanced over it, and we had sent over 10 kids to state, but we didn't hear anything about it. So even in school, it was kind of glanced over, even though we were the most successful team on campus. Yes, and I feel like a lot of women in sports do go through that, especially since like sports are made by men and controlled by men. You don't really get like a woman's input on much, especially in a sport like wrestling, because it was just men for so long. And so whether it be like less weight classes or some coaches would only like work on the boys and teach the boys, and the girls are kind of left in the back and kind of had to figure it out on their own. Shocked, because I mean you really only expect a boy to wrestle. I mean it sounds like such a boy thing to do, but they're shocked and they are like, oh, you must be like really strong. I'm like, I try to be. But yeah, most of the time people are shocked that I wrestle. I'm not afraid to speak my mind anymore. When I was younger, I was loud, but I was like, my opinion felt like it didn't matter. But the more I competed, the more I realized how much I was learning and how valuable what I have to say is. And so wrestling just gave me confidence where I didn't have any. It means that I'm involved in something more. Like, I'm not just going to school. I'm a member of the first ever Texas women's wrestling team. I have a goal to work towards to win and succeed. I have teammates who I can rely on. It just gives me like another sense of home. I love wrestling because it made me confident in myself. It made me not afraid to speak up. It also had a way for me to control my emotions and put it into something. like if something was going wrong at home, I had somewhere to vent and somewhere to get all my emotions out rather than use it in a destructive way. I had something to work towards. If you find something you love as much as I love wrestling, you don't want to go anywhere but the mat room. You want to keep going, keep practicing, keep learning. And so I feel like a young girl should find what she loves and just keep going, keep learning. You always can learn new things. And I feel like that's really important to understand.